So I guess to personify what Tino just said, on a night when we're celebrating visionary management, our keynote speaker is one of the most visionary entrepreneurs in technology. 10 years ago, John Marshall and his partner Alan DeBeery founded a company called Wandering Wi-Fi, better known as AirWatch. They saw the future, and the future was mobile. And their value proposition was a platform that allowed companies to manage and, above all, secure mobile devices in real time. Now remember, this was before BYOD. It was when BlackBerry was really the only choice for CIOs and CISOs. And then the CEO came in and said, I just got one of these. Can we put it on the network? And therein created a whole industry that AirWatch is leading. Today, AirWatch is one of the fastest growing companies in the technology space. Scalable, easy to use platform, device independent, 20 million mobile devices managed by the AirWatch system, and their clients include Lowe's, Delta, Merck, the Army Corps of Engineers, Toyota, and 7,000 others. John is a Georgia Tech grad, spent 3 years at Manhattan Associates, which many of you know is a launching pad for entrepreneurs. Then 4 years at the supply chain software company called Celerix. And then in 2003, he and Alan founded AirWatch. And by the way, you may remember 2 months ago, the company landed a $200 million VC investment from Insight Venture Partners. A busy man at a busy company, and we're glad to have him with us tonight. Please welcome from AirWatch, John Marshall.
Well, thanks for having me, of course, and thank you to Linda, Richard, Tino, and the team for putting this great event together. And as many people know, we were the recipient of the award last year, and over the last, I'd say 12 to 18 months, the Atlanta and the Georgia community has really embraced our organization. Nobody knew about us before then. We were a sleepy little company, but I think when we won the award last year, we were probably about 450 people. We've just crossed 1,300, so it's been a pretty big growth year, and that's global, so not all here in Atlanta, but certainly a lot of new faces. So what I wanted to talk about today for just a few minutes is, what I think is driving Atlanta and the growth and what we're doing, and certainly it's all about smartphones and technology. And we'll go through some of these slides pretty quick, but the big picture for us is mobile is growing so fast, and I look at the drivers of the economy, and in the 1990s it was really all about the PC, and in the 2000 to 2010 it was really about just the web and the pure internet, and this decade is all about mobile. And if you really think about the overall economy, I absolutely think the economic fortune and the recovery is driven, by the Fed buying $85 billion of their own money every month, but also by mobile. And so if you look at what we'll talk about today, it's certainly the statistics are staggering in terms of the number of phones, and we don't have to go through all the numbers. Everybody knows how big it is. So what we do is if we go to the next slide, we're at the intersection of, I would say, 3 important things: security, cloud, and mobile. And you'd rather be lucky than smart sometimes, but when we started this 10 years ago, it was a very uninteresting space. We were helping people with their wireless infrastructure, but I knew that things were going mobile, and that's the space I wanted to be in. And so we started really as a software company helping with this wireless stuff and as a cloud service, and then built a business and started then evolving into the rugged space. And that was a very lonely couple of years because nobody cared about managing rugged, these big Windows mobile devices in the back of a retail environment. And then I had the chance meeting with Apple, and most people know the story, and really learned what they were doing and latched onto it. And then from there, really what we do is we help with that entire life cycle of a mobile device, or a smartphone, tablet, even now a laptop that's a bring your own laptop, peripherals, all those elements that are becoming so pervasive in the community. And so most people have all brought their device to work, they've used it in some way, shape, or form, they've gotten devices issued by the company. And what I wanted to talk about tonight is I'll go through just a couple different vertical industries and share some stories because I think they'll resonate well with everybody. But you can see from the day that you get a device walking into a company, whether you're a contractor, employee, now a student, all of those scenarios mean you have a device or you bring your own or you get issued one, and it has to be enabled, it has to be managed, it has to get apps, it has to get content, it has to have security around it, and that entire life cycle has to be removed and taken away when the device is lost or stolen or you leave or you change jobs or roles. And that's really the part that we play in the system. So we look at this overall mobility strategy, and it's not really just about security. Most people think about what we do as security, and in the big picture, the device, of course you care about security, but you really care about the apps. You care about the apps, you care about the content. Email, of course, is important, but the generation that we're moving to is about enabling all of these different investments and focusing on the content and the apps. And that's where our business has really broadened to make sure that we're covering every element of that life cycle, as well as this concept of bring your own device. As we think about what's driving on the next slide, really the growth here, we talk about the economic game changers and what I think they are. We heard Tino talk about apps and the number of companies developing apps. I think it is really about apps and integration. And just keep going through the slides here. I'm sorry, my imaginary clicker. So I can't get Wi-Fi in my office because of our security guys. So I pretend I have, I pretend about Apple TV, and I have a cable that's got a little Apple TV label on it. So it's a running joke with our IT guy. We have Wi-Fi, we just don't have Apple TV. So it's painful when Apple comes and I gotta pretend that we're in the loop here. But the big picture here is think about how many apps have changed how you do business and how you interact. Even every morning you get up, if you go get on a Delta flight, if you go get your rental car, if you go check into your hotel, if you want to find the Starbucks on the road, an ATM, if you want to record something in Evernote, if you want to access your business apps, it's all of these that are absolutely changing the economy and everything that we're doing. And so not only are there millions now of public apps, we are seeing this monster growth now of internally developed apps within the enterprise. We have companies like Johnson & Johnson that have developed hundreds of internal apps. We have so many of these global organizations now that are doing very clever and creative things, and I'll go through a couple of those use cases today, but I single-handedly believe probably everybody in here that's in software is touching something in mobile, is doing something related to apps, and if not apps, on the next slide, it's about the integration. And so a lot of companies are in, I would say, a traditional maybe infrastructure business. You think about the Ciscos and the F5s and email and all these things. Well, the interesting thing about mobile is every single technology that touches mobile, whether it's an infrastructure component or it's a business system, it could be your HR system, it could be your ERP, it could be any type of business process management that you have internally, they're all getting a mobile extension. And so it's bringing new life into the economy in all these companies, because you would think, oh, I'm not focused on our infrastructure, but to support mobile, companies have to deploy traditionally a much better wireless infrastructure in hospitals, in healthcare, in education, in every type of corporate environment. They're improving their wireless infrastructure. They're adding what we call certificates to better control all these devices. They're now moving their email to the cloud to make it more scalable, whatever it might be. But the interesting thing about the technology that we're seeing is this is a very interesting time, because the playing field is going up for everybody. Every single company out there is benefiting from what's going on in mobile. So if we keep going through this, so when we think about the impact, I think of our business as a horizontal. We go across every single business that you could possibly manage. We go through government, healthcare, education. The types of customers that we have and the interesting things that we're doing are phenomenal. We have everything from a lot of the agencies at the federal level and government that are doing very clever things in terms of sharing real-time information around defense, around homeland security. We have state and local organizations that are now using iPads at crime scenes or in tornado relief efforts. We do a lot with the Army Corps of Engineers. We do a lot of the agencies that help in AIDS and natural disasters. We have most of the big insurance companies that use our platform. And now they're going out with mobile devices when you hear about these tornadoes, and they're able to respond, they're able to get people's lives put back together much faster. And so as we go through a couple of the scenarios on the next slide, I think about retail. Apple was a big game changer in retail. Everybody remembers the first time you went into an Apple store, they swiped your credit card and it was brilliant. They took your money before you even knew you gave it up. They had your credit card. There was no buyer's remorse. There was no waiting in line to say, do I really need this $2,000 gadget? It was swipe, receipt, done, boom, next. It was brilliant. So every retailer in the world now wants to think about how they better engage with their customers. And not just that, now you don't go and many retailers sign up for their email list in the store. They have a little kiosk. Think about how much it's changing how we buy things in retail, and you're just seeing the explosion. We work with 9 of the top 10 retailers in North America. We have the luxury brands like LVMH and PPR, Gucci, Burberry, Ralph Lauren, all of those, and they're all changing how they interact. They're clienteling, so if you come in now and you buy something, I tell the story where I have slightly long arms, so I need a 1534. Well, I go in and it's a trap. They know who I am, and they've got an iPad, and they're like, okay, I have 7 more. None of them are in this store, but if you want them, and I shop like once a year, I'm like, great, I'll take them. And the big picture there is how they get information out. If you look now, the Coke and the Pepsi drivers are going around with a mobile device, and they're getting displays of how that Super Bowl end cap at Kroger should look. Okay, it's on their mobile device. They don't have to get a FedEx anymore. They don't have to have some paper printout that they get from the back office in the morning. They're getting their displays, and by the way, then to prove that it's compliant, they snap a picture of it, they send it off, and they go on to the next store. So there are so many scenarios where if you go walk into a Macy's and look at how fast they are now at getting you shoes with a shoe locator app, or your new bridal registry or gift registry, all of those are being impacted by mobile, but it's not just mobile, it's mobile plus a device, plus the security, plus the apps to find that shoe locator, plus the wireless infrastructure, plus the security, plus all those elements, and that's why this economy is going so crazy right now. In aviation, we work with almost all the major airlines with the big driver was electronic flight bags. So now pilots in the cockpit used to carry around, or they still do for the most part, they're easing off of them, these 45-pound bags. And it's charts and maps, and they have to get updated every 14 days. So every 14 days, that 50-pound bag of paper gets updated with new charts and maps. Not only that, that's over 100 pounds on every flight. That wastes a ton of fuel. And if you think about the average age of a pilot, it's probably 40 to 55. A lot of health and safety issues with the picking up the bag in this cramped cockpit in the wrong way and hurting a neck or hurting your back. They can't fly planes for the next couple of days or weeks. So if you think about how that's changing aviation and getting real-time information to the pilots, getting real-time information around these charts and maps to save fuel, save expenses, and now they're doing things that are clever and saving money. We're doing a project with British Airways, and they're actually looking at real-time weather at the last minute to decide, do they want that last 1, 2, 3, 4,000 pounds of fuel on the plane based on the destination of where they're going. If they're able to save 3, 4, 5,000 pounds of fuel on every flight because they've got the latest real-time information in the cockpit, that's huge money for them. So these are things that we're seeing on a regular basis. We're working with a lot of other airlines that are changing how they do cashless cabin. So they've stopped taking credit cards, but there's this big monstrosity of a device to take your card. It's not real time, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to see a little device with a square on the bottom of it pretty soon on a lot of airlines to collect your credit card for the sandwiches, for duty free, those types of things. But now that you have a mobile device, well, all those new procedures, all those new emergency updates, all those new bulletins, they don't have to print them. They can get them out real time to cabin crew. Also, if you look at even baggage handling, you look out the window, they're scanning every single bag, and they're scanning it 7 or 8 times now in that process. I think the baggage process, if you look at Delta and their productivity there, it's amazing how much better, they've gotten over the last couple of years by implementing all that technology. Crew scheduling is another big one. So now it used to be, if you're a flight attendant, you actually have to go in the back room on a terminal and bid on the route that you want to fly next month. Well, now, a lot of airlines are building an app whether it's in retail or in airlines, so somebody can just go to that app, they can select the routes and bid on what they want to do next month, and it's real time and it's there, and it lets them have a better life as an individual because they're not spending an hour waiting for a green screen terminal somewhere, and it lets them get what they really want, and it's better for the airline too. So all these things are driving the economy and driving efficiency and allowing money to be spent in a more effective way. Education is another big one for us. We have entire countries in the Middle East that are buying a tablet for every single student. So we have several now where they are literally rolling out hundreds of thousands of devices. We have a school system on the West Coast that's about to roll out 800,000 tablets, every single student. There's a huge initiative. I think technology will be the savior of education, and not because it means the teachers aren't important. The teachers are even more important, but it allows students to interact with the best teachers. It allows the scaling, and it allows a complete change of how people learn. They can adapt with technology to the way that they learn best. They can learn foreign languages. They can learn so much more with tutoring, where there's not a parent at home in the evening. You can get tutoring from a remote person. There's so many things that we're seeing when it comes to all this information that is driving a fundamental change. I think Stanford graduated their MBA class last year, the first class in America that had no textbook. So not a single textbook, all mobile. And I think in 2 years' time, that will be the way everybody is. It'll be all mobile for all textbooks. And then the last one is really around healthcare. This is another one that's so important to our economy. It's such a big driver, and everything that we're doing around healthcare is driving efficiency, from scenarios where a mom that's just had a C-section and maybe the child was born immature, and now you've got a scenario where the mom can't see the new baby. They're both in intensive care in different areas, and they're using FaceTime to be able to connect that mom with the child. We're working with a lot of the children's hospitals where if you give an anti-anxiety pill to a young child before a surgery, it can have a lot of risk. So they're giving them an iPad. They're keeping them calm for those 45 minutes before surgery with an iPad, checking in with electronic medical records, doing all those different post-survey or prescription of drugs, and doing it much more accurate, where a doctor is no longer scribbling on a piece of paper. They're going in, they're selecting, they're clicking your pharmacy, and it's a better experience for you. You get the information. Chances are you might even get electronically sent to you with specific instructions. It's probably waiting at the CVS or the Kroger, wherever it is when you get there. It's changing the entire supply chain of what's going on. So those are some of the different industries that we're impacting and touching and helping in a small way. And then the other key trend for us is really around BYOD. And if we keep going through that, the stuff that we're seeing on bring your own device is that this consumerization trend is really moving at light speed. And the big roadblock now is no longer technology. The big roadblock is really governance and policy driven. And that means, what does an enterprise want to do? How much information do they want to let you have on your device? Are there regulations tied to that device and tied to that information? And so we're helping in a big way define those policies and make sure that we can enable enterprises to get these devices out there. And as we look through some of the different, if we go to the next slide here, some of the different benefits, huge flexibility. Everybody wants to have their own device out there. A lot of cost savings. You can argue really if the cost savings are there or not, and I think that's up to the enterprise and how they roll the different things out. High level of convenience. You get to update and keep the device that you want. So this is probably new in most enterprises. I think it's really the beginning. I doubt a lot of people in this room truly have a bring your own device that you're doing, true enterprise grade work on. You're probably getting a little email and calendar and contacts maybe, but going forward 1 or 2 years, I think that everybody may have some level of corporate device, but you probably will have a bring your own laptop in 2 years. I really doubt most companies will be buying laptops for, I would say, a large portion of their employees 2 years from now. If you want one, you probably bring your own. So this is another trend that we'll see that's happening very quickly. So all of these are some of the different things that we're seeing. All of them are driving software, they're driving infrastructure, they're driving technology investments. And so it's a great thing for Georgia. When I started this business, actually my last company, we were in Boston, and quite frankly, I just thought it was a horrible place to do business. Beside being cold, I mean, it was hard to do anything. It was hard to go to the grocery store. It was hard to, park. It was hard to get, anywhere. And I went to tech and was at Manhattan in the very early days. And I specifically came back to Georgia to start this business. And it was because of the airport, it was because of Georgia Tech, it was because of the economy, the transportation, all of these different factors together. So I think we're all very fortunate. I know that the story of, obviously it's really hard. There's 15,000 jobs that are unfilled. Everybody has 4 job offers. But let me tell you, in Silicon Valley, everybody has 4 job offers before breakfast. So, and it's no panacea in India. We have 300 or 400 people in India now, and it's just as hard to get jobs there. So, and to get recruits there. So I feel like we're all very fortunate here. It's a great community, and we all need to do our part to make sure that we're fostering the economic environment and the education environment here. So again, congratulations to the finalists that are here tonight, and thanks for having me.